Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Iron Kaiser Gaming. And in today's video, I've got something really special lined up for y'all. We're going to be putting the spotlight on and reviewing Arcane Wilds, which is an early access, in development, real-time strategy game set in a fantasy Wild West world. I've seen terms like Runestone Cowboys and Age of Empires meets Red Dead Redemption bandied about in connection with this game. So, we're going to check it out and see just how good Arcane Wilds actually is. I want to thank Avancadia, who are the Swedish developers of the game, and Big Games Machine for reaching out to me and partnering up to deliver this showcase to you guys. I want to be clear, I was provided a copy of the game in order to showcase it, but that copy was given with no strings attached. So whether I love it or I hate it, my opinion of Arcane Wilds is my own and it's genuine, and I'm able to share it unfiltered with the Iron Kaiser gaming community. So if that sounds like fun and that sounds like a community you want to be a part of, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel, and check out the description below, both for a link to the Iron Kaiser Gaming Discord community, as well as anything and everything Arcane Wilds, a link to the game itself on Steam, a link to the website, the Discord for Arcane Wilds, everything you need to know about the game you can find in the description below. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right in. Now this is an early access title, but even here we have two different ways of playing the game. From the main menu, we can see updates and news, which is pretty cool. Workshop, Steam Workshop stuff is already going on with this game, which is pretty neat. But right here at the very top are two ways of playing the game. We can either go into story mode or custom mode. The story mode is pretty cool. We've got the Academy, which is basically just the tutorial. And I'm glad that this tutorial exists because, as we're going to see in a second, there are a lot of really unique mechanics and features that come with playing this game. I mean, it's a very different real-time strategy game than many others I've ever played. So they've got some really cool things going on. They're not lacking for ambition when it comes to playing and coming up with a new way of playing RTS. We'll see that in a second. So you got your tutorials here. We also have mission mode, which is kind of neat. This is where you're creating like a sub-faction of one of the three main factions in the game. You pick your sub-faction. You go kind of into a campaign. You create your own little island, and you develop your unique technologies and develop your skill tree for your sub-faction. And you go on into missions, which are either against the bot, or you can play co-op with other people. There's different ways of playing mission mode, which is pretty cool. So maybe at the end of the video, I'll jump into this and just showcase how that works. But for right now, to give you the basics of Arcane Wilds, we're going to go into custom mode and just set up a 1v1 AI. All right, there's already a lobby system. You guys can play PvP if you are so inclined. I will be playing against the bots. And I'm going to keep it on very easy because I'm not actually trying to fight the bot. I just want to showcase how this game works. One thing I will say about the game, we've got three different factions right here: Army, Colony, and Tribe. This is a Wild West themed, flavored strategy game. It's painting in very broad strokes. This is not a historical RTS. It's not like we're playing the Union Army or the Cherokee Nation or, anything that specific. We're playing Army, Colony, or Tribe, which basically translates to the U.S. Union Army, the Cowboys, and the Native Americans or the Indians, right? However you'd want to define that. Those are your three different factions. I will go ahead and play Army this time and leave it up to the bots to see who we play against. Let's dive in. All right, so we are already in our skirmish mode. And what I'll do, I've got some notes on my own personal review of the game. But first, I'm going to actually play a little bit, show you some of the cool, unique features that are in the game, and then I'll share my review and my thoughts about the game. So here we go. We start off, and one of the things you'll notice right out of the gate, we don't have the typical resource management. I don't have like food, wood, gold, stone in the upper left-hand corner or anything like that. Instead, I've got my brand new settlement, and I have a dock right here, and you'll notice that inside the dock is 150, they're called supplies. It looks like wood, but 170 supplies have been collected from these trees here. Okay, And that's maybe the first really unique feature of the game, is it's all about resource management. The resources that you collect actually need to be on the map somewhere. So let's say, for example, I will pick my carriage here, and I want to build a barracks, right, in order to train saber infantry. Well, instead of just grabbing from the global wood bank that I have up in the sky, my carriage will actually have to go to the dock, collect the necessary wood for the barracks, and then go and take that wood over to the build location and drop off the barracks. Like actually take that wood and turn it into the barracks.
Yes, sir.
All right. Meanwhile, I'm going to send my spotter out, sort of scan the map and sort of get a sense of where different things are. I'll just move them around here. So as I create this barracks, something else you may have noticed. All right. So as the supplies are collecting in the dock, I need to recruit more units and bring them onto the field, right? Well, I can't just select my barracks and spawn, militia from the barracks. It doesn't work that way. Instead, with every barracks I create, it's sort of creating the materials necessary for, these guys are called the saber infantry, right? So it's creating the resources needed for the saber infantry, as well as the maximum amount of saber infantry I can send at any one time. But in order to bring any units onto the field, I'm relying on my harbors. The harbor is where I store my supplies. The harbor is where I will be bringing units onto the field. So let's say that I want another builder. I'll go and recruit a carriage. And right now I've got 4 out of 5 saber infantry that are available. If I wait long enough, the barracks will generate enough for a 5th. I'll go ahead and click all 4. And you'll see they're kind of queued up on this ship over here. And after the ship... there we go, there's a 5th. Nope, I don't have to wait for it. After a little while, the ship will set sail and make its way to my colony, and it will drop off those units. Okay, so here we go.
Count on me.
I've got infantry, and I've got my 2 builders. I'll go ahead and build a second barracks. And what that second barracks will do, again, it will let me sort of accrue the material needed for more saber infantry faster, and it will double that maximum amount of saber infantry from 5 to 10, right? Which is to say, not that I can have more than 10 on the field at once, but I can ship a maximum of 10 at any one time. All right. So the second thing, another big thing about the game, is that we have on the field, the game is literally called Arcane Wilds, right? This is an untamed land full of wild monsters and creatures that are imbued with magical power that we have to deal with. So we see kind of a native camp right here, or I don't know what you want to call it. In this case, a baycock nest. Spawns 3 baycocks at 2 minutes, drops 200 supplies when destroyed. I've got 4 saber infantry against the 3 baycocks, and I can probably win that fight. So let's go ahead and dive right in here and see if we have what it takes.
Ready.
Okay, yeah, I think at this rate, a couple of my guys will die, but we will win that battle. Alright, let's see. Let me train. Let me actually build up a... I'll put a depot right here. We'll talk about that in just a second. The Relic Guardian has appeared. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But for right now, alright, the baycocks have been destroyed. So this nest of arcane wild monsters has been eliminated. Okay. Well, at least it's about to be eliminated. And when it is eliminated, we get a reward. In this case, 200 supplies. Now, unlike something like AoE 3, for example, the Explorer just grabs the treasure and it goes into my bank. This is 200 wood that actually needs to be transported. So I'll take my carriage, go over here. I'm going to yoink this wood. And then I'm actually going to, I'll hit the F button, no, the X button. And I'll just deliver it right back to my dock. which again will allow me to do more things. Something else that's a little weird. All right, so one of the resources that we talked about is supplies. You just collect that from wood here. Another resource is, let's actually talk about the population limit, because this is a little different. Up here, you see we have a population of 27 out of 30. And if you rewind to the game to the start of the match, I had a max pop of 20. Your population limit is determined by your fame. Fame is a resource that you collect whenever you get into combat, whenever you're dealing damage. You get fame when you export essence at a harbor. We'll talk about essence in 1 second. And finally, whenever you build large structures for the very first time, you will get fame. So as you do more things in the game, you will gain fame. And when you hit these benchmarks, that population limit will automatically grow. So you are encouraged to maybe get into the fighting or just make very... You're encouraged to do a lot with a little early on. You're stuck with 20 pop until you do things like get into battle or, maybe you again export essence, which we will again talk about in just 1 second. For right now, let's go ahead and fight this next tribe here, this next nest of Bayhawk. I keep saying tribe because I'm thinking of like in AoE 3, you got the minor camps, but really this is more akin to the the wild treasures you find on the map, or the kind of those the outlaw camps that you'll find that you can loot, right?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so let's see. No. I'm sorry, you're doing that. Yeah, you get to go. Okay, let's go ahead and build a couple of firing ranges because I like supporting my melee infantry with ranged gun units.
Got any orders? Time to
The carriages with their wagons obviously have the most space of anybody, but all of your units, or almost all anyway, do have pockets that you can load up, right? So I will use my army to actually help transport some of these spoils of war. All right. Great.
Yes. Okay.
Now, we got supplies, which looks a lot like wood. There are maybe 2 other resources that are definitely worth considering. Essence and corruption. Essence are these ores that you will find across the map, right? So I've got essence miners right now. They're mining the essence and they're dropping them off at this depot. Okay? And essence is used in a very unique way. It's not like your typical gold or wood. We can do a couple of things with essence. We can either, and what I will do in this example, I can take essence and export it. I can take it back to my harbor, ship it back to the mainland, home base or whatever, and that will give me fame, which will increase my pop cap, right? Which sounds pretty good to me, so I'm going to do that right now. But also, as we unlock more units, stronger units have abilities that are empowered by essence. So you might have, for example, one that jumps to the top of my mind is the Gatling cannon that's available to the cowboys. And the Gatling cannon has this overwatch ability that actually requires essence to function. And the unit itself must actually have essence in its pockets, if you will, in order to use its ability. It's not like you just store essence in your faction bar, but the actual unit needs to have this resource on hand in order to use its abilities. So as you unlock different heroes, different units, essence is often used in that way. There are also minor factions that we'll see on the map, and then this map might even have a good example. We might find 1 or 2 here. Here, I'm going to ship some rifle infantry, see if they can make their way. But you can also use essence to interact with those minor tribes and kind of get some diplomacy going. Or you can influence the arcane wilds and have the wild animals attack your enemies because of your use of the magical essence, which is a pretty cool way of using the resource and very different from how supplies function. As kind of your basic you know, spend resource, collect units, or upgrades, that kind of thing, right? Now, finally, there is corruption. Corruption is a little bit interesting. As my guys are on their way, okay, we're about to head out. Certain buildings, like, for example, let's see. Yeah, if you look here, the melee armory contains upgrades for melee units. It must be built on corrupted ground. And what'll happen is, when I build this building, you can see actually right here, 258 is the currently accrued corruption points, or whatever you want to call that, because I've been on this patch for a little while. The longer you wait, the more points, corruption points build up. You can turn around and spend those corruption points on technologies. So you get them almost for free in one sense, but it's just, it costs these corruption points, which again take time to research. Or take time to accrue.
Of course.
Okay, what are you? The spotter. Okay, he's like a scout. We'll go ahead and send you over here. Alright, now as we explore the Arcane Wilds, and we'll see that there are more tribes, more barbarian camps, and animals, and fearsome foes to deal with.
On my way. Right.
There are two ways of winning the game.
Heading out.
A Puck Wedgie Hideout. Spawns 6 Puck Wedgies in 4 minutes. Just drops 200. Now that says that's the icon of supplies, but it says 200 essence when destroyed. So I'm curious. I want to know which is it. This is obviously a little bit of an early access typo here. It should be one or the other. Essence or supplies. Which one are we getting? Nice. Burn it now. I would like more ranged troopers. It is essence. All right.
On it.
So now you'll notice my guys. They kind of share amongst each other. So my units all have a combined, like in this region, this area, 30 essence. If any of the units had any special abilities, they'd be drawing from that pool. Any abilities that required essence anyway.
As ordered.
They need to have the essence in their pockets in order to actually do the damage that they need to do. Or, you know, I could just take it back to harbor, export it, get more fame. There are two ways to win the game. Oh, that spotter is so dead. Run. There are two ways of winning a game of Arcane Wilds in your typical skirmish mode. Either you collect 3 relics, or you destroy all of your enemies' harbors. If you destroy all the harbors, they can no longer ship units onto the field, and you know basically the connection to the mainland is lost, and you lose the game.
Yes.
We're gonna go ahead and grab a relic right now, just so you can see what that's like. Maybe. Oh, I need to drop essence. That's what's going on here. Hold on. All right, wait. The enemy shows up just as soon as I see how it is. They wait for me to get the relic. No, you don't. No, you do not. Looks like I'm also fighting Union. This is a Union versus Union, or Army versus Army mirror match here. You'll notice my guys are dropping the essence. You know, as they die, they are losing their essence. So the enemy can come by and pick that up. Okay. Alright, it looks like I should have the guys to win this fight. Meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and build a ranged arsenal, because I actually do like my ranged units, and I want to give them upgrades.
Yes. Count
Okay.
on me.
Did I... Oh, no. I didn't pick up the relic fast enough. No, he did. Oh, my goodness. No, you don't. No, you do not. No. Okay, so... This jerk, very easy AI, has just stolen my relic. Command post. Wow, fancy.
Right. Yes, sir. Yes.
The relic does slow down units quite significantly, so that kind of gives you a chance to catch up. Oh, this is going to be so close. I don't think so. I think he gets away with it. He gets away with it. Oh, my goodness.
Aim and fire.
He got away with it. My opponent has 1 out of 3 relics. 10% to your harvest rate. Now that's either a typo, or it's actually saying that the losing player gets a bonus because the opponent is closer to winning. I will assume that that is accurate. And it is saying, hey, this is a catch-up mechanic because obviously the other player is winning this right now. So, there's a little bit of a catch-up mechanic. Our economy is improved because my opponent has taken that first step toward winning the game. If he were to collect 2 more relics, he could win. You know what I should have done? Let me actually go back because we totally had control of this. I wanted to showcase this. One of the things that's really neat, that is an implication of the economy of this game. All of the resources are on the map, and that means that you can go on raids in a much more literal way than in many other real-time strategy games. Yes, I could come through here and, you know, kill the villagers and slow down the economy that way, which is great. But there is nothing stopping me. Yeah, let me destroy this guy too. Yeah. There's nothing stopping me from taking my army and going into his depot and just collecting all of the resources that he has claimed. Look at that. Yoink. And now my guys, chock full of essence. Let's see how many supplies. It doesn't look like he's actually got a lot of supplies. Yeah. Very, very few. That really wasn't even worth it. But, oh well. So I'm basically just robbing him blind. And you can do this. You can go on raids. You can go and steal your opponent's stuff. You see how, if I wanted to build something in the middle of the map, right? I'd have to send my carriage out into the center of the field. Well, if my opponent sets up an effective ambush, he could blow up my carriage and then actually turn around and, you know, collect those resources for himself and, you know, build his own buildings off of my work, right? So it creates an interesting map-dependent, dynamic way of playing a real-time strategy game, which I think is pretty cool. Alright, so you'll see here, range attack 1 cost 50 corruption. Let's see, melee armor 1 cost 50 corruption. And so likewise I can come over here, give melee attack, and wait a minute. These both say melee armor. I'm thinking that must be a typo, because, yeah. I think one of these is, I think that's supposed to be ranged armor. Right, so ranged attack and ranged armor, melee attack, melee armor, I'm suspecting is what that should be. Alright, just dropping off all of that essence, which has now given me so much fame and just improved my population limit even higher, even greater.
Yes, sir.
Now, this is not a faction guide for Arcane Wilds. I'm not going to showcase every unit that is available to the Union, or to the Army in this case. I keep saying the Union. To the Army. Let's really quickly throw down maybe a command post. Certain buildings must be built on corrupted ground, like the command post. Others don't have to be built on corrupted ground, but if you want to access the unique technologies and stuff, then you want to build them on corrupted ground. Yeah, these are upgrades for my infantry unit, or for my melee units. Upgrades for my ranged units. I would like, here's what we'll do. I'm going to go up to tier 2, the command post. I'm going to research veteran rifle infantry, maybe pick up the extra upgrade for them as well. And then I think we'll just end the game just off of that.
Heading out. I'll grab that.
If this builds up fast. So while we wait, let me go ahead and share some of my thoughts on Arcane Wilds. I mean, you guys are probably piecing together your own opinions by now. Anyway, let me share with you what I think. First, the pros, the strengths of Arcane Wilds in my several hours of playing the game so far. First off, I love the theme of Arcane Wilds, and that's not an easy thing to get. There are a lot of strategy games that have come out that just feel derivative, or they feel like they're missing some X factor. And I think the whole fantasy Wild West concept is really cool. It's an untapped world of the RTS sphere. I've seen it in games like Hunt Showdown or Weird West. So the idea of creating an RTS with kind of this Wild West fantasy angle is really neat.
Heading out.
The command post is up. We can now go to tier 2. And now that is researching right now. Great. So we're up to the second age, essentially. So I really like the theme of the game quite a bit. I think there's a lot of potential there and a lot of opportunity to expand that. I also think that some of these mechanics, they're very weird. You know, the idea of, okay, the barracks, they don't work like how you're used to thinking about barracks, or firing ranges don't work the way you expect them to, right? And having to navigate with the docks, and each harbor, by the way, if I build another harbor, it's going to have its own separate supplies pile, and you have to manage that. And you can take supplies from one harbor, take them over to the other. Maybe you get some workers on the other harbor to kind of help kickstart that side of the map. And, you know, it's a real experience sort of navigating these different harbors and the different supply networks that you can build for your base. It's pretty cool. So I really like the ambition of the game. It's got its own feel to it. I don't know that I've ever really played an RTS game. Sharpshooter's a unique unit. Can use the snipe ability for long-range shots. I'm going to send one sharpshooter just because I think that will probably require essence, and I would like to showcase that. So, things like, hey, how does essence work? And the different unique things you can do with essence. Speaking of which, hey,
Okay.
I told you guys about the diplomacy aspect, right? Let me load up my carriage with some essence. Ow.
Right. Heading
Let's
out.
see. So take a look at this. We got a village base. A neutral village offering the supplies in this structure. There's 1,300 supplies in there. Deliver 50 more essence to befriend.
Yes.
Nothing is stopping me. I could play a villain. I could just take these guys out and steal it if I wanted
As
to.
ordered.
But
On
if
my
I play the neutral route, or the positive route here, I'll just
orders.
drop
On
off
it.
essence.
I'll be marching there.
Boom. Alright, this is now a friendly village. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that means I can just come by and collect supplies. Yes. I'll load up on supplies, and they will continue to just work away. This is now a source of supplies for me. And I can just drop those off wherever I want.
All right. What's the next task?
Awesome.
Give me on my way.
So that's another way you can use essence, is in the kind of neutral path diplomacy angle. So the mechanics are really cool. Where's my... Let's see. Yeah, so here we go. Snipe, it requires 12 essence.
I'll get that.
Deal 600 damage to a target over long range. That will definitely take out an infantry unit. I think cavalry, I've seen cav go up to like 900 HP or so. Let me see here.
Sir.
But no, back up. I'm sorry. Infantry has 6. So it'll almost take out an infantry unit.
Right.
I guess it depends. Anyway. Alright, I think we can probably just mow over a very easy AI at this point.
Ready.
So, the mechanics of the game, I find them really intriguing. I'm even trying to think if I maybe missed anything to talk about, but I think I pretty much hit most of the key basic features of Arcane Wilds. The interplay of the different resources, the management that you have to go into to create things and bring them onto the field. It's pretty unique. I really like the music in Arcane Wilds. I don't know what it is. Not every game's music really appeals to me, but I like the vibes, the more mellow, dramatic, you know,
Count on me.
somber sound of the game is pretty cool. I really like the music of the game. And I think that this game actually has a lot of potential. As I've played more and more Arcane Wilds, I found myself really vibing with it and really getting a sense that, you know, there's some real potential here. You know, if this game kind of finds its wings and is able to take off, there's some really cool things
Mine.
that can be done here.
Give me a mission.
So let's see. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Yes, sir.
Now we're just destroying stuff. Let's go ahead and destroy these buildings here for the fun of it. We could just rush down the dock, but I want to take my time. Those are what I see as the positives. Now, I'm not going to say negatives. I'm not going to say cons, but I'll say maybe what are mixed bags. For me, the overall presentation of Arcane Wilds is a little bit of a mixed bag. I've already mentioned that the music is great. The graphics are okay. I think in some places they're nice. I kind of like the sort of, I don't know the correct term, not voxel. I don't think that's the right word, but it's kind of that,
Ready. Heading out.
I don't know. It's kind of a PS1. Yeah, this is actually not even the best example. What would be a good? Let's see these guys.
As ordered.
They have kind of a, I don't know, a very simple, blocky sort of look.
Right. Got any order?
You know, I think that the graphics, in some cases they're cute, but in other cases, especially with the UI, I think the UI not so great. It can be a little difficult to navigate. I mean, even when you factor in the unique economic angle to the game, it can be hard to see at a distance. You know, like, okay, well, how many supplies do I have in this particular harbor, or you know, how many resources? What does that say? Is it the number of villagers working on this depot? You know, that is 6 out of 6, but it can be a little difficult to make out on the field of battle. The 646 there represents the amount of corruption that you have stored up, that you can spend on technologies, right? They can be a little difficult to see those things. I think that the UI could use some improvement in order to look a little more, I don't know, a little more streamlined, a little bit nicer on the eyes, a little easier to see from a distance. I think that the camera, you know, does not zoom out as far as I would like in order to control more of the battlefield at once. So being able to zoom out, but also being able to tell where everything is and see, you know, the numbers would be a big thing. I already mentioned the game is not historical at all. That's either going to be a non-issue for some of my audience, or maybe you guys might even prefer it that way if it's a magical game. Others will be a little disappointed by that. There is something fun about gamifying and sort of exploring through the venues of a game the historical aspects of a time period. So I'm not going to call that a fault of Arcane Wilds, but just something that you got to know going into it, that, you know, you're not going to be exploring Mexico or the Union or the Confederacy or, again, the Cherokee tribe or the Lakota or whatever. This is going to be, you know, just a very kind of, again, very broad strokes, almost sort of Hollywood movie trope-esque versions of different factions. The cowboys, the army, the you know, the Native Americans or the Indians or whatever you want to say. The voiceover right now is, I would say, almost certainly placeholder. It's not very good. I think every faction has like one voiceover set that gets used. So, you know, each one has one voiceover. It's not very good. So presentation is not always great right now, but I would just chalk that up to early access, and I think there's definitely room for improvement there. There is the question of strategic depth. The number of units available. If we click on the dock, let's look at what we have here. We have Saber Infantry, melee unit. A Pike Infantry, also melee with a bonus damage against cavalry, right? Like a pikeman, that makes sense. A ranged unit, and then an extra ranged unit that does, I guess, maybe shoots from further away. Okay, alright, so 2 melee units, 2 ranged units. Melee cavalry, ranged cavalry. And then finally, in the most recent update, they've added in the cannon, which is kind of a support unit that does area effect damage and maybe helps with buildings too, right? So that's pretty much it. And I guess we have the standard bearer. So that is the army roster for this faction. And most of those units in Age 1, I think we're limited to the saber, the rifle, and I think shock the cavalry I could also unlock in Age 1, if I'm not mistaken. I could get access to the cavalry as an opener unit. And that's it. And it does sort of feel like, all right, you know, there's not a lot of variety early on. It takes a while. You have to jump through several hoops of throwing down several buildings, getting up to another age in order to unlock the sharpshooter in this example. And the other factions, you know, instead of the sharpshooter, you might have a different ranged unit that has bonus damage versus infantry, right? Almost like a skirmisher unit from AoE 3. Or, I don't know, you know, there's, for the tribe, there's a third cavalry unit you can unlock that's a little different from the other two, right? That is an anti-cav unit, right? So, you know, the army units, they're pretty basic. And outside of the rare unit abilities, I'm not sure that I see a lot in the way of maybe strategic options for your army. How do I want to put it? Yeah, so, you know, maybe the number of units might be a question of concern. There are no defenses that you can build. So if I'm expecting to get raided, for example, there are no... Okay, I can build a palisade. I can kind of wall things off. But I don't have like a tower or a fortress or anything like that in order to, you know, defend myself. I don't think, if I'm mistaken here, let me see. I don't think I can actually hide. Yeah, I can upgrade, I'm guessing, walls to a gate. I can't garrison and hide my villagers either. So, seems like, you know, if you get a good raid off with your cavalry, that you're probably off to a dominant start in a PvP battle or something like that. I would love to see a PvP match in this game. That would be really cool. But, you know, I'm kind of wondering how many strategic options there are for us AoE players, and maybe what we're used to thinking of as options for building a base, defending a base, you know, the early gameplay. I don't know. I don't know how that would gel. The game doesn't feel sluggish, but I'm not sure if it's as snappy as we might want. Sound effects are okay. Sound effects are pretty good. I think, like, with the cannon, for example. Cannon could be worse, could be better. You know, it's pretty good. The gunfire sounds are alright. They're decent. Get the job done. So yeah, presentation's alright. Strategic depth. Yeah, no castles, no forts, the number of units. Unit differentiation. I don't know, and I would maybe blame this more on me than the game. But I don't think the game communicates it well. It's like, what's the difference between rifle infantry and sharpshooters? Is the saber infantry, does he get countered by the rifle infantry, or is it just a matter of melee versus range, and it kind of plays out in that way, right? I'm assuming saber infantry is probably better against shock cavalry than rifle infantry are, but, you know, maybe not. So, kind of explaining that combat triangle and seeing the depth there. Is there that kind of depth that we see in other AoE matches? I don't know. And then finally, the tactical depth, which I think goes back to maybe that snappiness I was talking about earlier. In AoE 2, I'm an AoE guy, so those comparisons make sense to me. In AoE 2, some of the fun is in microing units. And I'm finding that I love unit micro. I love the ability to see a mangonel coming and realize, oh no, I need to split my units, and quick, I'll grab half my units and split them up, you know, and dodge the shot at the last second, right? Or in AoE 3, you know, navigating snares and forcing units to kind of succumb to slower movement speed so my army can collapse on them is really fun. And I don't know how much opportunity there is for that in Arcane Wilds. I know that there are units with powers. The standard bearer has some powers that he can use to kind of, I think he can give his fellow units more armor, or he can give them more damage. I know that the tribe faction has a shaman, which can slow down enemy units or poison an area. So there's some special power play at work, but I don't know if it would have that same responsiveness and snappiness in a PvP battle. All right, finally, we're gonna go ahead and actually dive into. Let's take out this dock, and that should just win us the game through and through. Victory! Because our opponent only had the one dock, we destroyed it we win. In a real game, you certainly would want to build more than one dock. So we can see stats right here. Army size, kills, losses, spell damage dealt. Whoa. Okay. Destructions, morale damage. So morale is pretty cool. I didn't even talk about morale. That's one of the things that, okay, you don't have forts, but what you do have is morale. So if I still have control here, I can show you really quickly. You can build tents and houses next to your villagers, next to your harvesters. And it takes a little while for it to build up the morale effect. But as this tent is surrounded by harvesters, it will slowly gain more and more percentage troop morale effect. Your allied units near that tent will gain additional HP, additional attack damage. Just the stats will improve by fighting near this tent. And if I'm not mistaken, you actually build multiple tents and they will stack on each other. I might be wrong about that, but the tutorial had me build 6, so I'm assuming that they do stack on each other. Here's the... Yeah, so this guy, he has different abilities that cost essence that improve the fighting power of his units. Alright, I think we call it right here for Arcane Wilds, or at least this skirmish. Let's get out of here. Alright, we can abort the game, because we won. And I did tell you I would show you this really quickly. It's pretty cool. So the Hawkeye Regiment is a variation of the Army faction that we just played. I hit start. So this is my own little personal island that, you know, I've got some resources I can throw down, houses that improve my total population, depots where I can store things like sapphires or supplies or whatever. This here is the Sniper Academy, where I can upgrade my unique sniper unit with a whole bunch of different techs and bonuses and features. And you'll notice most of these things, like this ability for the sniper, snipe, it costs sapphire. So in order to gain these resources like sapphires, I have to go on quests. So I can grab a certain number of my units.
Say the word.
Let me see if I can send them onto the boat. Let me back up. Alright, so right now I've got... Can you guys actually... What do I need to do to send you on the quest? Embark. There we go. Okay, so I think at this point we've got maxed out guys on the ship here. So you can send your units that you store here on the island onto missions. You gotta go into the pre-built army. And you can up the difficulty from very easy all the way up to very hard. And you can pick different quests. Destroy the enemy's base, defend the temple from invading hordes, defeat the guardian and seize the relic. You can gain sapphires, fame, supplies, and when you pick one of these, like if I pick Annihilation, I can make this a public match, I can get a friend to join in, or I can make this a solo game. I'm not sure off the top of my head whether this is a co-op scenario or whether this is a PvP situation. It should be. If it's not co-op, I would strongly encourage the devs make it co-op, because that's what a lot of RTS players really love, is the chance to play strategy games with their friends against the bots, beat them up together. I like the competitive aspect, but I know a lot of people love just hanging out with their buddies and playing co-op missions, so that would be my strong encouragement there. I would bet you it is. Like, that's such a no-brainer to me. I would hope that that's co-op. If it's not, that needs to be right at the top of their list to do. Anyway, that will be, I think, the last I show of Arcane Wilds for right now. So there are still 2 whole civilizations that we've not looked at. I didn't even really go into everything that the army had to offer. Like, we never sent a cannon, and we never see how those work. But we've got 2 other factions we haven't even looked at. The colony, the cowboys, right? The tribe, the Native American faction, right? So, let me know, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. Overall, I guess to maybe wrap up my thoughts, I think that Arcane Wilds has a lot of potential. Right now, it's a little bit of a diamond in the rough. It's in early access. They're still developing a lot of the features and even the basic units in the game. And this is an ability and an opportunity to get on the ground level on an up-and-coming strategy game. But I've got to say, I see a lot of potential with this game. It's very different. It's not just trying to grab at nostalgia for some older previous RTS game. It's coming in with its own ideas. I think it has the potential to become something really unique and really cool. So again, be sure to check out the description below to join in on Arcane Wilds, to support the devs, and be able to track along with them on this development journey. Be sure to let me know in the comments below if you want to see more Arcane Wilds, maybe you want to see a spotlight of the different factions of the game. Let me know, because I would love to showcase more of the game for you guys if the interest is there. And again, I want to thank everybody over at Avancadia and Big Games Machine for allowing me the opportunity to showcase their game to you all. So thanks so much, guys. I hope you enjoy it. For now, this is the Iron Kaiser signing off. Have a great one out there.